Welcome into the channel, folks. What you're looking at in front of you right there, that's a 3-week chart of Tesla stock. The stock price is up over 25% just in the past 3 weeks. Now, for a stock to make that sort of move, there's got to be something going on here beneath the surface. And there's a whole lot going on beneath the surface in regards to Tesla right now. And that's why the stock is making such a pretty insane move in such a short amount of time here. Now, a lot of people, because the stock has been troubled the last 3 years, right? They forget this has been a life-changing stock for a lot of individuals out there, right? I mean, since IPO, the stock price is up over 13,000%, right? And folks like myself, that we weren't fortunate enough to make the let's call it great judgment of buying this on the IPO, but we did buy years later. We've also done tremendous in the stock over time, right? 663% over time. And it's important we don't forget that Tesla can be an absolutely amazing stock when this business model is trending right. The business model has not been trending right the last few years, but there's a lot changing beneath the surface here today, okay? We're going to speak about what's going on with Tesla. I'm going to drive you through what's exactly going on with Tesla, why this stock is absolutely beasting right now, 25% plus just in the past 3 weeks. And we'll also speak about if this stock's going to hit $300 plus this year. And keep in mind, there's only 6 months left in the year, so that would have to be pretty darn soon in regards to that. So we'll discuss all those subjects in today's video. I appreciate every single person for joining me for these beast videos. As always, thank you for being subscribed to the channel. Thank you for smashing the thumbs up button, folks. It means the world to me. We're only a few days away from the massive one-day sale for 1000X. We're doing that sale on July 4th, so that is going to be for full access to 1000xstocks.com. That will be pinned comment down there. Enter in your name, your email. We'll send over the deal when it drops on July 4th, which is like 3 days from now. And also you'll receive your founding membership card in the mail once you join us in there. So very, very exciting. Alrighty, so where we're going to start out with this video here today is China. So China was a hero market for Tesla for about 5 years, but the past year specifically, it's been a bad market. It's actually been a holdback for Tesla, really specifically in the past year, where it was a great growth market. They were putting up tremendous numbers there, and then really in the past year, some things kind of went south. And China's incredibly important to Tesla. Like, I don't think people really quite realize how much of Tesla's revenue comes from China specifically. Check this out here. This matters significantly. Tesla, China accounted for 22.5% of the company's overall revenue in 2023. There's very few American companies that get over 20% of their revenue from China. Tesla's one of the very few. Even a company like Apple, you would think Apple is very heavily reliant on China, right? Guess what? Apple's actually less reliant on China than Tesla is, which is kind of mind-blowing, right? If we look at last year's revenue for Apple, it accounted for about 19% of the company's total sales. So meaning Tesla is more reliant on China than Apple is. That's pretty shocking, right? And if you look at a company like Nike, Nike gets a significant business out of China, but that market's been bad. And China has a lot of issues that have been going on the last few years. One is they had shutdowns for too long. They went way crazy with the length of how long they had shutdowns going on out of Rona. I mean, there's a lot of areas of China that didn't really start to open back up until 2023, right? And so they stayed shut down for far too long. And then additionally, on top of that, there was a U.S. goods recession that really was in 2022, and it led into 2023 and even this year a little bit as well, whereas everybody and their grandma was out there buying everything they could get their hands on, right? During Rona, which was 2020, 2021, all the stimulus money pumped out there. You had a period where people hadn't really been hit by inflation yet, because inflation really started to hit people at the end of 21, and then obviously in 2022, 2023, and even this year a bit, right? So there was a great time for goods, and guess where a ton of stuff is made? China, right? You could go to any store and look at the back of the packages and guess where it's made. It's probably made in China, right? And so being that the U.S. went into kind of a goods recession as well as Europe as well, it hurt a lot of Chinese businesses in a substantial way in the Chinese economy, right? And by the way, Nike's revenue in 2024 in China is still going to be bad. And so that's been going on, right? But there's a change that is just starting to transpire here that's pretty darn exciting. So This came out here today. BYD, which is a competitor to Tesla, BYD's sales rise to a record on price cuts and tech upgrades. This is good news. You might say, how's this good news? BYD is a competitor to Tesla. Their sales are to a record, right? We need to see these Chinese EV makers basically doing better sales volumes. If they're doing better sales volume, then there's a higher probability that, guess what? Tesla is going to be doing higher sales volumes as well, right? In regards to these markets, if one company's doing really bad, then a lot of other companies are probably doing bad. Same thing on the upside. If one company's doing really good and you hear numbers, there's a decent probability other companies are doing very well as well, right? If the smartphone market is very weak in China, guess what? It's going to be very weak for Apple as well, right? So that's an important thing to understand this. But then you can say, okay, you can make an argument and you can say BYD, they've come out with some phenomenal products. Maybe this is only BYD specific. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, as they say, right? Just because BYD sales are rising to a record doesn't mean it's going to work that way for Tesla. Well, I have something to show you here. Check this out. This was out of the South China Morning Post this morning. NIO, BYD, and this company, Zeekr, all reported record sales in June. Now, and Li Auto also, by the way. Now, that shows clearly EV sales are coming back quite strong in China, and it's not just specific to one company like, oh, BYD's doing well, so therefore, they're the only ones. No, it looks like it's all these guys, which means it's likely that Tesla's going to report really exciting numbers here recently, specifically in the month of June, in regards to China as well, which is very substantial, right? Now, obviously, as far as what analysts are saying about this, they're saying these companies are relying on discounts, clouds of profitability forecasts. Yeah, but at the end of the day, more people care about getting these companies' revenues and deliveries and production back in a good place, and then we can begin to worry about profitability, okay? We need to see these companies' sales come back because the trends have been very bad in regards to China EV sales recently, right? China's top 3 EV makers of premium electric vehicles continue to grow fast track in June as discounts incentives propelled deliveries even as they made profitability more difficult to achieve. Beijing headquarter Li Auto, the nearest rival to Tesla in mainland China, led the pack with 36.4% month-on-month jump in deliveries to 47,000 plus units, just shy of the car maker's all-time high of 50,000 in December. Xiping, I can never pronounce Xpeng, I guess you can call it. Xpeng saw its deliveries, which might not be the right pronunciation in Chinese, I don't know, in Mandarin, saw its deliveries increase for the 5th straight month, with sales advancing 5.1%. Shanghai-based NIO rewrote its record for the 2nd straight month, with deliveries rising 3.2% over May, hitting 21,000 plus. The strong sales numbers add to evidence that the EV market in China is still growing despite worries about slowing momentum. However, leading players are now facing the hard task of improving profitability, right? And I will say for some of these other companies, that is a problem, profitability, because some of these other companies are losing a fortune. Good thing for Tesla is they've remained very profitable, even during this time period of price cuts, of margins getting squeezed and hit, and all those sorts of things, right? Now, this is important you understand this about the Chinese EV market, okay? Listen, this market's going 100% EV, and it's going to go there in the fastest way, like talking over this decade. And the reason being is the Chinese government is basically forcing on everybody. And if you live in China, you're not going out there to buy a new internal combustion engine. Like, your thought process, in America, the thought process is still, if most people go to buy a new car, they're still thinking like a regular car. EVs are kind of the secondary thought in the United States right now, right? In China, it's not like that. In China, you go to think about buying a new car, EV comes to mind first now at this point in time. And every other type of car comes really after that, right? China's clear as day. They want that market to be 100% EV. They really want to be the leader of EVs. And that's why you're seeing so many EV companies prop up in China. And guess what? China will be the leader in electric vehicles. They will be. Elon Musk has told us, as somebody that competes in the United States and somebody that competes in China, like, it's clear as day, China is going to be the EV leader. The competition there is fierce, very tough, great companies, right? And so, and I don't want to get into the whole subject of what does that mean long term for US-based companies like General Motors and Ford and some of these others, right? I don't know. All I know is that market's going EV, as all markets are, by the way. It's just China's going to go there the fastest. And this is a market where 20 million plus vehicles a year are sold. So that's some food for thought. And I can tell you, we have the Tesla, Discord chat, obviously. We have all the different channels and whatnot. And when folks go over to China and they send pictures inside that Tesla Discord chat over the past year or so, my gosh, you'd be amazed at how many EVs are really out in that market now at this point in time. And if you see new vehicles, it's EVs. If you see new vehicles in China, it's EV, EV, EV everywhere. I mean, you think California, they got a lot of EVs. You haven't seen anything until you go to China. And I've seen the pictures. I've also had friends that have to go to China for either vacation or work or different things, right? And they'll send me pictures. And, you want to get a ride somewhere, like an Uber or Lyft, but it's some different service over there. Guess what you're riding in? An EV, man. And by the way, the competitors in that market, their products do look good. They do really look good. I mean, I'm like, I wish we had some of these other companies in the United States as well, because I'm telling you, if we did, people wouldn't even be buying anything other than EVs. Trust me. Like when you really get educated and you see these vehicles in China, like you really start to understand, like if these vehicles were in the United States right now, no one would be going to a Ford dealership or a GM dealership or, any of these other Chrysler dealership, any of these guys. Like you really start to be like, whoa, that's the product. Like, and it has how much range and it has that sort of technology in it, and it's really fascinating, right? So now Tesla rises ahead of the Q2 deliveries report, right? On basically the thought that Tesla deliveries are going to be getting better and better. And so this is part one of really a 7-part story here, but it's part one of the story gets better in the second half of 2024, which is a call I made going all the way back to the second half of last year, right? I told you guys I'm expecting the second half of 2024 to be, basically the story gets better and better for Tesla. We bottom out everything in the first half. The numbers, the deliveries, the margins, the profitability, all those sorts of things bottom. And then they start to get better and better and better as we go throughout the second half, right? But in order to do that, you have to see demand stability and you have to see demand uptick. And we're starting to get the early signs of demand stability and demand uptick here, which is very, very important. So then as we get into the second half, which now we're in the first day today, the day I'm recording this is the first day of the second half of 2024, then we can feel confident about the numbers building and building, things getting better, year-over-year increases, those sorts of things, right? Very, very important. Now that leads us to part two of Tesla and what's going on with the stock and where the stock's going. Is Tesla excitement is starting to come back. Let's not forget Tesla is one of the most exciting companies in the world in terms of what they're working on, the projects, the engineering team at that company, right? It's fabulous. And we're starting to see the glimpses of the excitement come back for Tesla, which is actually very, very important for the overall brand of Tesla and how people view this. Tesla will showcase Cybertruck and Optimus Generation 2 in China. Tesla will showcase its all-electric pickup, the Cybertruck, and Optimus Generation 2, the humanoid robot, at the 2024 World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai, China, later this week. It's actually on July 4th, the same day we're doing the massive sale on 1000X, right? They're going to showcase some of the biggest brands in the world and their best products, and Tesla's going to be bringing a Cybertruck and showing off the Generation 2 of Optimus. So that is very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. This is what we need from Tesla, right? We need that excitement to come back around this brand. Now, continued part two, right, is guess what? It's July now. Next month is the big month. August 8th is Robotaxi Day, which some people are calling maybe the most important day in Tesla's history. To me, the most important day in Tesla's history was the day they showed off Model 3, because that took the company from like, oh, this is just some niche automaker to like, oh, they're going to become a big auto company, right? So that to me is always like the most important Tesla day. But this could very well be the second biggest day, in my personal opinion, in Tesla's history when they show off that Robotaxi product and what the plans are there, execution timelines and things like that. And so that's another level of excitement coming back to Tesla, the cool coming back to Tesla, right? All those sorts of things. Now, additionally, part two continued is Elon Musk is doing the things we want Elon Musk to do, okay? This came out 9 days ago here on YouTube. Everyday Astronaut posted this. 2.5 million views now at this point in time. First look inside SpaceX's Star Factory with Elon Musk. Elon Musk gave this gentleman a tour of the Star Factory. And even though SpaceX is a whole different company from Tesla, the brand it gets melted onto Tesla, right? And so this is the stuff we love to see from Elon Musk. We want to see Elon Musk be a nerd, like be, a legendary, like futuristic, like nerd, but like we can call it, right? And that's cool. Like that's what we like. That's Elon Musk a lot of people fell in love with. That's the Elon Musk that, became kind of a mega celebrity, actually, right? The Elon Musk that has been, over the last couple of years, kind of a distraction, getting more into politics, and that's just an ugly world. You're never going to win in that space. We know that, right? And, that's a whole situation. And so this is Elon Musk we need, and it seems like he's starting, keyword is starting, can't get too excited, but it seems like he's starting going down that route again, which is great. Because I'm telling you guys, that's the Elon Musk everybody actually wants to see, right? There's so many other freaking politicians out there that can say this and say that. We don't need another politician. We need Elon Musk to be Elon Musk, because there's only one Elon Musk in this world. There's a million guys that can make Republican comments and Democrat comments. There's a million of those guys, a dime a dozen. There's one Elon Musk. There's one guy pushing space travel to, extraordinary boundaries. Like, it's incredible what they're doing at SpaceX, right? And it's incredible what they're doing at Tesla. There's one Elon Musk. There's a million guys that can comment on politics. We don't need another freaking one, okay? And so it's great to see Elon Musk starting to get back on the right track. Let's hope that continues. Now, additionally, part 3 here, volume ramp of Cybertruck's coming, right? And this is going to start to be very positive for numbers in the back half of the year for Tesla. Not only in terms of on the revenue front as the volume picks up, but additionally, what we're going to likely see is I think Cybertruck could start to become margin accretive to Tesla, whereas I think in the first half of the year, my personal opinion is it's actually hurting margins, it's actually hurting profitability. Whenever Tesla goes to ramp a new vehicle, it's usually ugly. They're usually losing money on all those vehicles they sell for that first 6 to 9 months. And then they start to make a little money. And then as volume gets bigger and bigger, you start to make more money. Your margins start to increase quite dramatically, even if you don't go up on price, just because of the volume that's going forward there. So this is going to be big. I'm looking very forward to that. Now, me personally, I'm going to be getting a Cybertruck. Why am I not getting a Cybertruck this year? Because I think there's a lot of people kind of thinking like me that aren't getting a Cybertruck this year. We're going to be getting it next year. What's going on here? I'm not getting a Cybertruck this year because every time any new vehicle comes out in its first year, it's plagued with problems. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with the Tesla service guys coming to my house all the time, or me taking it down to the service center to get stuff fixed. Whenever you get a product in the first year, there's a lot of kinks to work out. Everybody else can be cool and have their Cybertrucks this year, and I understand that's like a cool factor having in the first year. I don't want it. It's going to be a lot of problems, and sure enough, we've seen so many problems with Cybertruck. You're going to see more problems with Cybertruck over the next few months. That's why I'm not getting it. And the second reason is I want the additional battery capacity that's supposed to push the truck up to 470 miles. They're going to basically put this extra massive battery pack in the back part of the truck that could get you up to 470 miles of range, right? And so let's say you don't actually get 470 because, to get 470, you're going to have to probably drive it perfect. So no different than any car. They say you can get 18 miles to the gallon or 25 miles to the gallon, but unless you drive it perfect, you're not actually getting that number, right? So if it's 470, I could actually probably get 400, maybe 380 on that. And then that's enough miles to go from Vegas to LA without having a supercharge. That's enough miles to go from Vegas to Phoenix without having a supercharge. And so me personally, I'm looking forward to that. And then I could worry about supercharging once I get to the city. And so that's why I'm going to be getting the Cybertruck. I mean, it's cool. It is an epic truck, right? It's very controversial. But really, I'm looking at that extra battery capacity there, and I'm like, okay, I like that. So anyways, I'll be getting a Cybertruck next year, and I think I'm not the only one in that camp. I bet you there's some people watching this video right now. You're also planning on getting a Cybertruck next year, but not this year, right? I bet you I'm not the only person. Now, it leads us into part 4 of Tesla. We're going to have tax credit FOMO likely start, especially in the fourth quarter of this year. So there's a pretty decent probability T-Man's going to become reelected, right? And so there's going to be FOMO that starts to build around, T-Man doesn't like EVs. So he's going to take away the tax credits, right? And so once everybody starts talking about that, there's going to be, I think, a big push. And by the way, I don't know if T-Man will actually take away the tax credits or not. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But one thing I do know is there's going to be a huge FOMO cycle that starts to build. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if the fourth quarter deliveries for Tesla are extraordinarily high, because so many people are going to be concerned that T-Man's going to be taking away the tax credits. And so just remember who told you this first, because that's going to be big here, okay? Now, in terms of that tax credit right now, basically it's up to $7,500. It's not a small amount of money, up to $7,500, right? And the trick is you just got to be making less than $300,000 as a married couple. So for the 5% of people that are watching this video right now and you're a baller and you make, more than $300,000 a year, you can't get this tax credit, unfortunately. But for other people, they can. And so I'm telling you, it's going to be a huge FOMO cycle, especially if it looks more and more probable like T-Man's going to win the election. And then once the election happens, if T-Man does win, December could be nuts for FOMO, because everybody's going to be running with the narrative about T-Man's going to be getting rid of the tax credits, and I'm telling you, it's going to be wild. Tesla could put up their biggest delivery numbers ever in the fourth quarter of this particular year. We'll see, okay? Now, part five is around margins. So if you know my opinion, I've told you guys, I believe margins reverse in the second half of this year and start going up again, which is going to be very, very exciting. You're looking at a trailing 12-month of gross margins, and you're looking at a trailing 12-month of operating margins. It's very, very clear over the last year or two where these margins have gone. They've gone down and down and down, and there was one of the really exciting things about investing in Tesla, and one of the reasons the stock had such an insane parabolic run wasn't just that, this company's a future, this company's revenues are skyrocketing. It was this company's margins are like something we've never seen before in an automaker. And they kind of took the company out of an automaker category and really put it into just people kind of viewing it as a tech company. Well, as the margins have gone down and down and down over the last couple of years, people are starting to say, it's just an automaker. It's just another automaker that their margins are going to be horrible. And next thing you know, their margins are going to be right there with Ford and GM and Volkswagen and Toyota and all these other companies, right? We can't have that. One of the things that makes Tesla special is like $1 trillion plus opportunity in terms of where they can go with their revenues over the next decade, but also simultaneously be the highest margin company we've ever seen by a mile in the auto space, right? That's what makes Tesla magical. And so we need to see Tesla's margins start to improve in the back half of this year. And if we do that, baby, are we going to be rolling in regards to this one. That leads us to part 6. We're going to see likely a major uptick in services revenue in the second half of this year. Now, why do I feel like we're going to see a big uptick in services revenue in the back half of this year? Well, a few reasons. First off, if you think about the first half of the year, what was Tesla doing? They gave almost their entire customer base free full self-driving for a month, okay? Now, probably a lot of people did the full self-driving, enjoyed it, and then probably didn't stay signed up for it, right? That's what happens when you give a free trial like that. Like a lot of people are, but there's going to be a pretty decent portion of people that are going to stay signed up for that. I don't know if it's 5% of people that got the trial, 10%, 20%, 40%, 50%. I don't know what the percentage is going to be, but it's going to be a pretty big number. And so just from the FSD amount of people in the back half of the year, subscription revenue start to pour in, it's going to be pretty substantial for revenue, and for the services revenue specifically. And then additionally, on top of that, more and more vehicles, bigger and bigger fleet, older and older fleet, right? Guess what? Cars end up going out of warranty. They end up, having this little problem, that problem, things got to get fixed, and it comes out of customers' pockets, right? And so a lot of Tesla vehicles have been under warranty because they've been sold in the last few years, but those, if you bought a car at Tesla in 2019, 2020, even some that are in 2021, they might be going out of warranty because you're probably over on miles or over on years, right? And so that's another food for thought in regards to that. So the services revenue, you're going to start to see a major uptick there, and then keep in mind, additionally, the other automakers that sell EVs, now a lot of them are going to start using Tesla's supercharging network in the back half of the year. Some of them already have started, but a lot will be using the back half of the year. So the services revenue, you're going to see pretty insane growth, in my opinion, in the back half of the year, which is going to be very, very exciting to the third quarter numbers and the fourth quarter numbers, right? That leads us to part 7 of the Tesla story. FSD shock and awe. If you experience FSD, it's already incredibly impressive, right? It drives a little bit like a grandma still, but it's incredibly safe and it's pretty shockingly good. But with that being said, we're going to likely get high version 12s out in the back half of the year. My guess is seeing how fast FSD is getting exponentially better, I think we're going to likely see some more shock and awe when it comes to FSD. We could potentially get, volume 13, version 13. We could potentially get that in the back half of the year. I don't know. But one thing I do know is we're going to see major improvements there, and the pace of improvement in FSD is exponential right now. So I think more and more people are going to be waking up to, oh my gosh, like Tesla's going to actually solve FSD. It's just, they got to make it a little bit more drive like a human, which is sad, but it needs to drive a little bit more dangerous, actually. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's got to be a little quicker with the stop and then go and not drive too much like a grandma. And so if they can get that last version, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be shock and awe when it comes to kind of FSD, and more people realize this is a real deal. Like, Tesla's going to solve this baby, right? Now, what I have in front of you right there, I drew this little chart, this little graph here for you guys. This is a feeling around Tesla stock. And as somebody that's been an investor of this company for many, many years, and as somebody that's followed the company all the way since IPO, right? I wanted to show you this because this is kind of feeling. So in 2018, there was a kind of a nice uptick in the feeling around Tesla and kind of where they were going in Model 3 ramp and things like that. And then 2019 came and there was like this deceleration of growth. And then there was some worries about profitability. There were some people saying the company's going to go bankrupt and all this baloney. And so then there was a bad feeling around Tesla stock in the first half of 2019. It started to come back in the second half of 2019. And then leading into 2020, it was good. Then we had Rona, right, which kind of hurt the feeling around Tesla stock in the short term. Then from the back half of 2020 through 2021, I mean, the feeling around Tesla stock was all-time highs, right? And you had everybody and their grandma talking about, oh, Tesla's going to $3 trillion, $5 trillion, $10 trillion market cap, right? I mean, it was the most FOMO of FOMO, right? And that kind of also was that sort of market we were in at that particular time, right? And then 2022 came, Fed started hammering rates, and the feeling around Tesla started to falter more and more. Growth rates started to slow also, which led to a bad feeling. 2023, same exact thing. Tesla stock price improved in 2023, but a lot of that was on the back of the market improving because we came off those fourth quarter 2022 bottom, right? And then this year, I would say the sentiment, it's kind of been in a rough place until recently. I think we've started to uptick this baby, and if anything, I'm saying the feeling around Tesla stock for the next year is going to get better, better, and better, and better overall. So that's kind of my opinion in regards to that. Now, we got to understand, this is a 3-year chart of Tesla. This past 3 years, the stock's down 8%, right? There's a good amount of frustrated longs in the stock. We got to admit that, right? Good amount of them. And the question is for those longs, are they going to sell when they get back to their cost basis? Because there's probably a lot of people out there that bought the stock at $250, $275, $300, $350. Could be individual investors, could be funds. Like, what happens when those people go back to their cost basis or they start to profit a little bit? Or are they going to take money because they were down for 2, 3, 4 years and they're like, you know what, I just need out of this thing. I'm just happy to get my money back. I don't know. That's going to be a big question that has to be answered there, and we'll see. But we'll see in regards to that, right? But it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. Now, here's my thing, okay? If the market holds, so we don't have any sort of big crash in the market, and those 7 parts play out like I just laid out for you guys there, which I think there's a pretty high probability, we'll hit 300 plus in the second half of the year. In the second half of the year, 300 plus. And I know it seems a long way, considering the stock as of yesterday was 197, but I think there's a pretty decent probability. Now, if the market doesn't hold, right, and the market gets hammered, or those 7 parts don't play out that I laid out for you there, then we'll probably have to wait 300 plus until 2025, 2026. But assuming the market holds and those 7 play out, we'll see 300 plus this year. Okay. Now, additionally, I want to say I still view Tesla as a core holding. There's certain companies I view as core holdings to a portfolio. Core holding means a company that, I just look out there over the next 10 years and I just see that company growing and growing and becoming bigger and bigger. The type of company that has several different tremendous revenue growth opportunities, profitability growth opportunities, and has a very special CEO and employee base, right? And so those sorts of companies that come to mind are Meta, or Tesla, or Amazon, or Nvidia. Those are the sorts of companies I think about when I think about that's a core holding for a portfolio. And I still view Tesla as a core holding to a portfolio. I still view it as one of those positions you could build around, right? It's your steak of your portfolio. It's your chicken in your portfolio, right? Your piece of fish of your portfolio. And then you could put all the side dishes around that entree there, right? So that's Tesla. It's a pretty darn exciting time, I think, to finally be a Tesla shareholder for the first time in, let's be honest, it's the first time in years. It's been exciting, I think, to be a Tesla shareholder. And we're going into that sort of situation now at this point in time, folks. Okay, 1000X. So what I'm showing you right now is Tesla's mandatory metrics. We also have all the advanced metrics for Tesla on here as well. Forward Ps, 2-year out forward Ps. Next year expected EPS growth by analysts, taking everything into average there. Next year revenue growth. We also have the ability to compare 3 different companies against each other. So like if you wanted to compare Tesla versus AMD versus Nvidia, you can compare all these companies' growth rates, expected growth rates, right? If you want to listen to Tesla's earnings calls, we have all that on there. So if you want to listen to any company's earnings call, type in ticker symbol, boom, it pops up right there. Same thing with SEC filings. Actually, this is SEC filings right here. So if you want to see, what are insiders buying the stock, selling the stock, the SEC filings are all there, 10Ks, 10Qs, all that stuff, right? And then conference calls as well. So if you want to listen to Tesla's latest conference call, or you want to listen to a conference call from 2021, you could go on and listen to it. You want to type in Palantir, listen to Palantir, boom, right there, right? You can adjust the playback speeds as well, all in there. And then we also have the stock market terminology section, which is very important, explaining what all these different metrics mean. I think that's very, very valuable in itself, all those, because some of these metrics, I understand some people don't really quite understand them, especially when it comes to advanced metrics. And so to have just massive amount of the stock market terminology broken down right inside the service and having its own tab right there, metrics, is, I think, very, very helpful to folks. So once again, if you want that 1000xstocks.com deal, that will be pinned comment down there. Enter your name, your email, we'll send over the deal. If you want it via text message, put in your number, we'll send it over via text. And once you join us in there, we'll send you your founding membership card. This is a founding year of 1000xstocks.com. Very, very exciting. We just hit 100 plus members of 1000X now at this point in time. And so very, very exciting. I'm sure we'll hit another 100 or 200 after July 4th. So it's going to be very, very exciting times. Much love and have a great day.